It was the popular 19th century American columnist Fanny Fern who first coined the phrase, "The way to a man's heart is through his stomach," though, as Republican politician Robert Byrne retorted, anybody who believes that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach flunked geography. I was waltzing one evening with my friend Li Shui at my Saturday dance class when she asked me if I liked dumplings. It's amazing the range of questions one has to field from some of the girls here. Naturally, I told her I did. I mean, I'm a guy and I love my stomach. And at that self-same moment, the only recorded coherent sentence from Emperor Ferdinand I of Austria came to my mind. I am the Emperor, and I want dumplings. And so it was that we decided there and then to set a date for me to be taught how to make Liaoning Dumplings, for Li Shui comes from this northeastern province of China, which borders on the DPRK. Liaoning is famed for its food, and according to Wikipedia, Liao cuisine is one of the 8 famous cookery styles of China. Jiaozi, or dumplings, and noodles form the staple foods of the area. Before the appointed hour of her arrival, I rush out to Walmart to stock up on some of the necessaries that she has given me as a shopping list, and then do my gentlemanly duty of meeting her from the subway station and escorting her back to my place. Alas, she is suffering from a sore throat, so before we knuckle down to the cookery lesson, I give her my own tutorial in sore throat manipulation, a mixture of honey, whiskey, and hawthorn juice, warmed up in the microwave and gargled down. This seems to do the trick, and before one can say "Ahem, ahem," she's busy chopping my prized pieces of pork fillet into a fine mince that would surely be the envy of many a butcher's shop in the West. While Li Shui is busy hacking the poor pig into submission, it's my duty to fine-chop an onion. No tears, big boy. As well as a leek and some pak choy that are standing in as a cabbage substitute, together with a few slivers of ginger. And before you know it, we have a dumpling mix whose aroma fills the kitchen. It's only half an hour later that someone, mentioning no names of course, realizes that we forgot to add any oil to the mix. So a bottle of olive oil is extracted from the cupboard and a dollop is added. No one, we are sure, will be any the wiser. It's only at this point in time that Li Shui admits to me that she has never made dumplings before in her life. Oh, she's seen her mother do them countless times, but she's always wondered if she could do them too. And guess whom she's chosen to be her first guinea pig? Now she tells me. I quickly do some mental calculations. On the basis of what is the worst that could possibly happen scenarios, I know I have enough eggs in the fridge to satisfy the most demanding of appetites if the dumplings go wrong. So we decide to carry on and see what we end up with. For who was it who said that it is usually better to travel hopefully than to arrive? Next up, it's Play-Doh time. I search my adult brain for any dough jokes I can come up with, but realise they wouldn't translate well into Chinglish, so instead I shake the flour canister, aka an old peach nectar juice bottle, as Li Shui adds water and kneads the resultant dough into a ball. The dough ball needs to rest a while after being pummeled into submission. Now, if you look at all the top chefs doing their cookery shows on TV, there are loads of them slurping back a few mouthfuls of beverage as they do so. So I work out this is a good time to introduce my master chefette to the joys of gin and tonic, except of course that this is China, so we settle for gin and Sprite, which actually isn't a bad substitute. Already the thought of Liaoning dumplings is tickling my taste buds. What's the difference between a Liaoning dumpling and a dumpling from any other part of China? I ask her. Not a lot, it would seem. Next up, I'm shown the art of rolling the dough into flat discs. It looks so easy the way she turns the dough ball under the rolling pin, which goes back and forth over half the dough each time, until she ends up with a perfect circle of wafer-thin skins. She picks up some of the filling and dollops it onto a skin. And before you know it, she's squeezing the skins and innards into raw dumplings. Ha! What could be easier, thinks the boy wonder. As if reading my thoughts, Li Shui stands back and suggests your favourite podcaster has a go. Visions of a 1970s TV game show called The Generation Game immediately spring to mind, in which an expert shows the contestants how to do something seemingly easy-peasy and then stands back while the audience falls about laughing at the pathetic efforts of the contestants trying to remember the sequence of events. In this case, flattening the dough ball, rolling the rolling pin halfway over the ball, gripping the resultant dough shape, giving it a semi-turn, and applying the rolling pin again and again until such time you should end up with a perfectly shaped disc. I'm left wondering if anybody can really tell just by looking which are my finished dumplings and which ones Li Shui has crafted. But by the time we have prepared 37 of the little blighters, there's not an awful lot to choose between them, he says, working on the principle that if you say something with enough conviction, there are always some people who will believe you, however much BS is contained within your statement. Time for an aside here. As I'm reminded after committing the cardinal error of misplacing the chopsticks while working on the dough discs, you can place the chopsticks on top of the bowl, or propped up against the side of the bowl, but never can you stick them up straight out of the food. It reminds the Chinese of placing incense sticks when paying respects to their ancestors, and so is extremely bad form, or bad luck, or bad manners, should you ever do this at the table, or even when preparing Liaoning dumplings. The next problemette to be solved is how we are going to steam the raw dumplings. We consider using a rice cooker before we discover there's actually a steaming pot hidden away in one of the cupboards, which has never seen the light of day for the past 9 months to my certain knowledge. Eventually, some 3 hours after starting this marathon cookery lesson, it's lunchtime. Li Shui explains that a soy dip usually tastes better if you add some vinegar into it, and together with a sweet chili sauce, we're ready for the off. The looks of contentment and relief say it all. Has Li Shui never really cooked a dumpling in her life before today? She assures me she really hasn't, and I have to believe her. I tell her she's welcome to come back and give me a cookery lesson again any time. But I guess that with her cookery skills, it won't be long before some stomach other than mine points her in the direction of a yearning heart, and she will finally be lost to the members of Gluttons Anonymous for evermore. And now for part 2. If, as a netizen has headed up his blog, life is a bowl of spaghetti made with jagged noodles, then it could be I have found the meaning of life. No, please, hear me out. It wasn't so long ago that Li Shui came over to my pad to show me how to make Liaoning-style jiaozi. Jolly good they were too, and I told her she was welcome back any time to give me another cookery lesson. Well, guess what? Shu's culinary yearnings had brought her back to my front door after yet again sending me a list of ingredients to procure from her local store. Flour, pork, garlic, eggs, spring onion, green coriander, mushroom, soy. What can it be, I hear you gagging to find out? Patience, dear fans, patience. At the appointed hour, I go meet her at the subway station. Shu is the only female I've ever met who is always early by some 10 minutes, as opposed to 99.99% of the world's female population who are invariably 10 minutes late. Not, I have to add quickly, that I've worked my way through all 99.99% yet, but you get my drift. It appears she has forgotten a couple of things from the above list, so instead of heading back to my pad, we head in the opposite direction to Walmart. A short search along the spice aisle leads her to a packet of bean paste, deep brown and gloopy in its thick plastic wrapping. And after picking up a few other inconsequentials, we're off to start the cooking. First things first, and after a quick "what can I get you to drink" opening, Shu has already grabbed some flour and with some water is kneading it all into a big ball of dough. It then sits there thinking while we down a drink or 3 and plan a campaign of action. If you are already getting a feeling of déjà vu, please hold on in there for a while. Clearing as best I can the only flat surface I have in my minuscule kitchen, Shu then deftly rolls it out into a thin flat disc and lightly folds it onto itself 3 times over, before slicing it into strips. Aha! Methinks you've worked it out now. Yes, it's Noodle Day at Chateau Brian. As usual, it all looks so easy when an expert is doing it, and before long the said Liaoning-style noodles are tossing away in a pan of boiling water while we prepare the rest of today's feast. The veg all needs chopping, spring onions, green coriander, and garlic chives. Just like last time, the pork is chopped into smithereens, together with the mushrooms that until that moment had been sitting around idly minding their own business. Greenery, pork, and mush are unceremoniously tipped into the frying pan, which has been heated with garlic and ginger. And this is followed by a good dollop of the pièce de résistance, the bean gloop. One thing I've learned in Chinese cooking: never be put off by the disgusting look of the stuff until it's all finished. Today is going to be one of those days where this rule holds true. Shu realizes that we have forgotten to cook the eggs, so we quickly make amends by scrambling them up in a bowl, creating an omelette, and then tearing it apart for throwing into the general melee. A bit more greenery is added, and already the mix is starting to look a bit more palatable. The noodles are drained, poured into cold water, and drained again, and the entire caboodle is dished out into waiting plates, while a pot of jasmine tea waits patiently in the background. Quick and easy it may be, but the faces say it all. Shu has once again reached the parts other meals don't always reach. Today, happiness, as they say, is noodle-shaped.